Hi, so I posted maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago the first couple of chapters of the project I'm working on at the moment, with the working title Old Con, A True History of the Wild South. So I read chapters 1 and 2, so I might today just read a couple more chapters for anybody who might be interested. Chapter 3. Hundreds of starlings take flight above the Lagan at dusk. They merge and become a dark twisting cloud, a murmuration that sweeps above the town. The bird cloud moves in a perfect circle, then breaks into two like a wave torn apart by a rock. The two clouds make their own paths, one clockwise, the other anti-clockwise. Rapid and graceful, every individual surrendered to the singular motion. They weave back together and briefly seem solid as iron, then turn into strands, allowing the light to shine through. There's a pulse to the aerial spectacle, this dance of convergence and separation, an eternity traced in the town's dying light. For a moment there's majesty to behold, no one and everyone's possession. A grace soft press to the eyes. It lasts a moment, then disintegrates as birds descend to roost and workers come out from the factories. Every day of mill work carves a greater emptiness. Mind dull, senses dull, muscles fiercely knotted by the repetition. 16 years old, and who are you? A lifter of bundles of flax, a feeder of omnivorous machines, a captive in a world that would have you little more than a slave, already maimed by the business. And you're just one in a town full of workers, steadily ground to that emptiness. No one in your family has it better, no one in your neighbourhood. You look at the old workers, the ones still alive, with their hacking coughs and stooped backs. They can't dream beyond the promise of a smoke and a drink. Behold, the great industrial revolution, nothing but drudgery followed by death. Such a glorious destiny to behold. And is it any better for the Protestant workers, the mill and factory workers and the brickmakers down on Sandy Row? They live in more of a slum than the Pound. Their houses are wretched, their work is no better, their wage and conditions no better. The brickworks are probably worse. The grind knows no sectarian divide. The emptiness spreads across the whole working class. The sorry life sparks a hunger to feel something, anything. Even if it's pain, it's better than the emptiness. To feel is to know yourself alive, and to feel alongside others who feel the same is to know that you belong. The streets of the Pound are the place for it, the place of rumour and the common-held stories. It's fuel to the bonfire of feeling. You gather round it with others. The flickering heat in what's being said feels good. It burns away the dross of the mill. It reawakens the dulled parts of your nature, voice and passion and muscle. In the mill, you're no one. You're nothing. In the street you are someone and part of something, a presence demanding notice, an iron-clad opinion, a force alongside others to be reckoned with through whatever troubles the night might deliver. It starts with mates and joking, girls and flirting, a bottle passed round, sláinte. A quick shot burns a trail down your throat and into your belly. The joy of the crake. Street performers sing the latest deeds of the liberator and charge the growing crowd with a patriotic fervour. The great spread of history, made present through the singing, curls around you and holds you in its own intoxicating grip. This is belonging, your story taken into the great story, part of it, electrified by it, charged through with the desperate heroism of it. All the emptiness is pushed aside through this volatile communion of the streets. There's rumours about what the other mob are planning. There's always someone planning something in this town, and there's always rumours to match it. Always trouble brewing. You feel anticipation ripple through your body. Your hands might be maimed, but they can still make a fist and leave a mark. There's a pressure building now, and you can't wait to let it rip. You listen as the grog sparks life into others, even the quiet ones. Heat rising. Everyone a little louder. Soon those who migrated from the country start telling their stories of atrocities carried out by the Orange Men and the Peeper Days in Armagh and the like. A litany of aggravating recollections passed down, holy relics of a precious outrage. The fact it's all been heard 1,000 times before doesn't matter. The telling is important. It makes the most distant outrages personal. Then talk turns to the mighty ribbon men setting the scales right and exacting Irish justice on the bastards. You're drawn into the role through the listening. Soon your mob are charged up as though the destiny of the nation relies entirely on the outcome of whatever street fight is approaching. Chapter 4. Barrack Street and Sandy Row are two ends of a fuse that run into either end of Durham Street. Barrack Street is the finest in the pound, lined with shop fronts, and the natural place where boisterous crowds gather to get their blood up and ready for a fight. Everyone's pockets bulge with stones. Women keep an extra supply cradled in their aprons. Some men have sticks or brickbats. Some have spiked bludgeons, the kind designed to seriously maim or kill. There's rumour there's a gun or two at hand. Chances are someone will get a blast before the night's over. Most are ready to do their bit. Let a shower of rocks rain down on Protestant heads, swing a bludgeon hard to crack a skull, set the streets trembling with the fury for repeal. The crowd is more than 200 strong, pockets of animation in the night, some yelling, some raucous laughter, rumours thick in the air. It doesn't take long for word to spread. Sandy Row is on the move. An orange mob have gathered outside Christchurch on Durham Street. Someone says there are more in the field behind Mulholland's Mill. The Protestants later claim they were making a defensive line. They've heard the Catholics are ready to bring havoc down on Sandy Row. The cry goes up across the pound. It's up and at 'em now. The two mobs face off outside the church. You'll not be visiting Sandy Row tonight, you paper scum. Seems you're the ones inclined to come calling, you pox-ridden prods. The whole business is a liturgy of violence, a now familiar pattern of confrontation evolved at county fairs, then imported to Belfast streets and brought to an intense fruition. First, there's the volley of words, women given over to razor-sharp hate, a furious verbal torrent to cajole, provoke, emasculate the po-faced crowd on the other side. There's a violent artistry to a well-honed taunt, a delight in seeing it strike, seeing the receiver squirm in his boots, knowing in that moment he's been bedded. It's no small thing to have the sharpest tongue in town. It's a good laugh for your side, and a vigorous barb driven right into the heart of the other. Soon, the po-faced squirming on the other side hardens to revenge. A pair of dark eyes mark the vocal offender for a future bruising. Every back and forth adds fuel to the fire. Most lads are verbal blunderers in comparison to the girls, inclined more to noise than to finely honed comments, all full of rising bluster and itching for the release that will only come through a well-swung fist, a taste of blood, and a knee driven right into some weak bastard's balls. The lads try to strike up a chant for repeal, a chant for King Dan and Irish sovereignty. They're soon met with the other mob's reply. To hell with the Pope. To hell with King William, long live King Dan. No repeal, it's coming. At long last it's on the way. Not where we live. Time to sweep out the rubbish then. You'll be hearing it. You'll be copping it. It's kids who first get worked up enough in the back and forth to start hurling stones. They set them flying, then watch their trajectory to see if they hit a mark and draw blood. It's a violent game played by darting children who spend their daylight hours doing the dangerous clean-up crawl under mill and factory machines. Kids on both sides, already damaged lungs, maimed hands, bleak lives to come, have more in common than sets them apart. But all that's nothing to the mad, heady buzz of battle and the feeling of thunder in their veins, each kid imagining himself Brian Boru, a warrior king come to reign in the Belfast streets. Shouts echo down shadowy lanes. Kids scatter when a rain of rocks comes down in their direction. The moment is a thing to savour and, even better, to tell others about with a dramatic flourish later. A shower of rocks and broken bricks is flying through the air, coming out of nowhere, drawing blood, breaking bones, smashing windows. Then the adults join in. And before long there's a mad scramble to gather more ammunition. The laughter has petered out now. The sound of battle carries through the night. In the finer houses, eyebrows are raised. The poor are at it again. As long as they keep to their wretched streets, it's no great concern. But God help any who cause damage to the mills. It doesn't take much for a mob to make an effigy. Some straw in hessian bags tied into a head, a body, arms and legs, an enemy-coloured sash, a long stick, a firebrand at the ready. On the Protestant side they raise a green-sashed Dan O'Connell, a half-stuffed puppet they jig about with disdain. Here's your liberator, hanging by the rope he deserves. No sooner is fire racing up O'Connell's straw man legs than the Catholics raise up none other than an orange-sashed King William III. Look who we've dragged from his cursed grave, your orange saviour, ready for a roasting just like he's getting in hell. No hope for you lot now, no orange man to come and rescue you. Up goes William of Orange in flames, and up goes a torrent of abuse and rocks each side, surges forward through drifting embers. Indiscriminate fighting breaks out, grown men collar and pummel children. Bludgeons swing, collecting jaws, blood sprays, bodies fall on one another. Some are pinned to the ground and kidney punched. Eyes are gouged. Fists grip rocks to give them extra clout. Women claw and bite. There's a dark ecstasy in the brutality, a wild-eyed primal exuberance. Everything bound and tampered down is now let loose. The blood of both sides mingle in the gutter. Cries of God-forsaken pain mingle with roars of triumph. The only end to any of this is death or mutual exhaustion. Then Tom Werner, the JP, comes riding into no man's land. "Go back to your houses and I'll be answerable to your protection," he says to one side, and then rides across to tell the same to the other. No one budges. The blood's well up now. Werner can see it. He threatens to read the riot act and call out the troops. Kids answer him with rocks, each hoping to be the one to cause his horse to rear up and send the justice flying arse over tit to the earth. It's a precarious moment. It'd take nothing for that law and order mob to be trampled underfoot. Werner has only 25 police with bayonets fixed, standing between two forces that are hundreds strong. 25 police to serve the whole of Belfast, and one's already down after copping a well-aimed rock to his head. It's a point Werner would make when next before a magistrate. Werner sends word to the barracks. The only hope of restoring order is the troops. He reads the riot act, then starts with the arrests, careful to show an even hand. The leaders of both sides are cuffed. Stuart Lafferty on the Catholic side, William Quinn on the Protestant side. People start dispersing when word of the approaching troops spreads. Werner draws a breath, but knows the trouble is likely to spread to other places now. There'll be flare-ups right across the west of the town. The large mobs split into small groups. Some go home to rest before the workday begins again. Some spy on the movement of the other lot to check they're not doubling back. Some squat in shadows and plot. Those who live where they don't belong need to be driven out. Cullen-Tree Road, then. Sure enough. Before long there's rocks through windows, a mob barging through the door of someone's house, a great smashing racket, then screaming, "Get out of my house, papist! Get out of our territory, prod!" Fists and boots hammer at the man of the house until he's broken and bruised beyond all recognition. Children cower in a corner. A woman wails at the injustice. The home is smashed beyond repair, chairs broken, a table upended, crockery reduced to shards. The mob sift the debris, hoping for a drop before they pay a visit to the next house. The families stumble onto the street with no thought but to find their way to safety, though none of this will be forgotten. The memory will murmur down the generations. The hate will stay a strong pulse in the veins. A Protestant mob is also at work in Cullen-Tree. They'll ruin 18 houses before the night is through. They've busted into the house of Cosgrave, the shoemaker. "Leave him, he's dying of consumption," cries his wife. "Damn the papist, he's going to hell and we'll only send him there the faster," they reply as they drag the old man out of his sickbed, then pummel his frail body with boots. The woman tries to stop them, but she can't. There's no reasoning with the devil. Once the mob have gone, she holds her man. Nothing but bewilderment in his eyes. She brushes his face and rocks him back and forth, and curses the day they set foot in this plantation town. Outside there's a brief peace just before the dawn. Nocturnal battles end. The bruised and wounded grab a moment's sleep. The knocker-up wanders along the debris-cluttered streets. The tap, tap, tap comes too soon for most, but the mills and factories pause for no one. Another day in Belfast begins.